Hey guys, welcome to your 11th beginner's Java tutorial, and in this tutorial we're finally going to be making our first program in Java. And what that program is, we're going to be creating a function to add some numbers together, and if the numbers are too big it's going to not allow the function to continue, and we're also going to use while loops and maybe a for loop to execute the add thing a certain amount of times. So to start off, you can see the basic structure here with our main, and we're going to make a new function, or sorry, I'm calling it a function because I'm used to kind of PHP, but in Java it's called a method. So if ever you hear me saying function, I mean a method. So we'll create our method first of all, and we're going to make it a public method, and it's not going to return anything, and we're going to call it add. And in the parameters we need a number a and a number b to add together, and we're simply going to write a, or rather we're going to make an int called answer, and answer is equal to a plus b. Now that we have that, we're going to first of all check before we print it out to the screen, we're going to check if the numbers aren't too big. So we're going to say 100 is the max. So we're going to say if a, which is the first number the user enters, is less than or equal to 100, then we're going to allow it to continue. And then I'm going to write else. So in other words, if it's greater than 100, we're going to print something to the screen, system out print line, and it's going to say number must be below 100. And also we're going to check if it's under, we're also going to check if it's over 0, in other words if it's not a minus number. And to do this in the if statement, we're going to need to check two conditions, and to do this you do two ampersand signs, which is shift 7 on your keyboard. And I'm going to also say as long as a is greater than or equal to 0. And in our little comment, number must be below 100 and above 0. So now that we've got our first check for our number, now we're going to need to check number b. So inside our if statement still, we're going to want to check b now. So if b is less than or equal to 100 and it's greater than or equal to 0, then we can execute the next part. Otherwise we're going to say else system out print line, and we're going to say, well, first of all we'll add a to this, number a, and I'm just going to copy this actually. Number b must be below, and if both of these check out, if both of the numbers are between 0 and 100, we're going to want to print out the answer, and that's system out print line and answer. There we are, answer. So just to recap, we've made a new method called add, and we have a number a and a number b for the user to enter, which we'll add together. We've then created a variable called answer, which is equal to number a plus number b. Then we've created an if statement that says if a is less than or equal to 100 and it's greater than or equal to 0. So in other words, if it's between 0 and 100, we're going to continue on to the next bit. If it's not, if it's lower than 0 or above 100, we're going to print out to the screen number a must be below 100 and above 0. And so if it is true, if it is between 0 and 100, it will now check number b. So if number b is less than or equal to 100 and it's greater than or equal to 0, it's going to print out the answer. If it's not a valid, so we're going to say number b must be below 100 and above 0. So hopefully that will make sense. Now we're going to come down to our main method, and we're going to use this method. And we're going to run this method 100 times with a while loop. Now this is going to get this is going to be a little more complex, so what's the word or phrase? Pay attention. There we go. Pay attention carefully to this. So we're going to create an integer called count1, and that's going to equal 0, and an integer called count2, and that's going to equal 100. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add to count1 every time the loop happens, and we're going to minus from count2. So I'm just going to show you now. So while we open our parameters, and so we're going to need to say while count1 is less than or equal to 100, because that's going to count up to 100, and count2 is greater than or equal to 0. And then in our while loop, first of all, we're just going to say count1 plus plus, and we're going to say count2 minus minus. So just in case I've lost you, we've made a while loop, and we're saying run this while loop whilst count1 is smaller than or equal to 100, and count2 is greater than or equal to 0. Then we've said count1 plus plus and count2 minus minus. So count1 is going to cycle up to 100, and count2 is going to cycle down from 100. We're now going to use our add function to add the count numbers together every single time the loop is executed. So we're going to write add, which is our function, or method, sorry, that we made up here, add, and we're going to give it number A and number B, and that's going to be count1 and count2. So, and the error is because we're inside a static method, so we're going to need to make our add method static. There we go. Now, what this is going to do, once more, is I've already explained this bit to you, but it's going to run this loop 100 times whilst counting up from 100 and down from 100, and then it's going to add those numbers together as it goes. So let's just run this now and see what happens. And of course, I didn't really think this through, but of course, as long as one is counting up and the other's counting down, they're always going to equal 100. So that's a bit boring. So I'm going to simply change. Instead of adding A to B, I'm going to times A to B. And now if we run this, as we can see here, a lot more interesting than adding them together. We can see that we've got, it starts at 0 because 0 times 100 is 0. Then the second time it goes round, count1 is now equal to 1, and count2 is now equal to 99. So 99 times 1 is 99. It then goes 2 times 98, then goes 3 times 97, and so on and so on. And then our final number that we reach, it counts up to a max of, let's see, 2,500, and then it counts down, all the way down again, and it reaches this. I'm not sure why it's stopped there rather than 0, but anyway, that is it for this tutorial, guys, but hopefully you're a bit more satisfied now that we've applied our methods and our if statements and our while statements to an actual program that could do something potentially useful. So that's it for this tutorial. Please subscribe.